Well, thank you everybody for joining us. My name is James Whirlwind Soldier. Sorry for being a little bit late. We're still waiting on a couple of our panelists to join us. And so while we're waiting, let's just go ahead and get started and start talking about what we're doing here. So again, like I said, my name is James Whirlwind Soldier. I am the Workforce Strategy Consultant for DEED in the Northwest region of Minnesota. We are so happy to have you here today. If you're new here, thanks for joining us. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Please take a second to introduce yourself in our chat. We want to know who you are and who you work for. Our team of workforce consultants work regionally, which means that each of us is going to work slightly differently so that we meet those needs and specifics for our region that we're supporting. But the common core ways that we support our employers are identified here on this slide. We work with you to identify gaps in your current strategies, and we ensure that you are connected with the local, regional, and state workforce partners that will assist you in building strategies that will help you attract and retain a great workforce. So our consultation process is really rooted in and informed by data. It's developed specifically with your company's needs and goals in mind, and we serve as your guide through the process and convene workforce partners for support. We share training and grant opportunities and continually check in to ensure progress is being made, making adjustments along the way. When you work with us, you're automatically connected to a wide network of people and partners who work collaboratively for your success and the success of the state, our regions, and our communities. So that your business, but also our workforce can thrive. And we absolutely do not do this work alone. It takes many people to bring success to all of these efforts. You'll see on this slide that we have our 2024 lineup available for registration. And as you can see, you spoke, we listened, we incorporated your feedback into these topics. And we'll continue to weave your needs into our sessions for the rest of the year and into the year as we move on. If there's something you're interested in learning about that's not on this list, please put that into our evaluation form. We'd love to hear from you, and we would love to collaborate your ideas into our sessions here. Our session today will go until noon, after which we'll segue into a 30-minute unplugged portion of the event where we want to hear from you. So in that portion of the event, you can turn on your microphone, turn on your cameras, and ask questions directly to the panelists. You can also ask questions to the workforce strategy consultants or each other, or just continue the conversation. And of course, if you have questions along the way, you can throw those in chat, and we will make sure those get asked to our panelists. I would also, as I mentioned before, that evaluation form, I would really ask that you fill that evaluation form out at the end of our time here together. We'll get that link popped up into the chat for you. As always, these webinars are recorded and available to view anytime via the YouTube channel, as well as careerforcemn.com, where you will find the recordings. You'll find all the resources we're sharing today from the sessions, but also from previous sessions that we held. We will absolutely be utilizing our chat feature today, like I mentioned, throughout our time. So please ask questions, interact with guests, our consultants, partners, and each other. We want to continue to build this community and this engaged partnership with all of you. So please let us know what you're thinking. We have a super packed agenda today with some amazing guests, and we have who have dedicated their careers to being change makers and culture shakers. So without further ado, let us please get started. Again, you're going to start seeing a lot of resources coming into the chat because this is a pretty popular conversation today. Organizations that are successful at recruiting individuals are connecting with demographics that might be minoritized or underrepresented in our workforce. And the second chance population or demographic is absolutely one of those. So what does our agenda look like today? Well, we'll start with talking about the business, social, and ethical cases for fair chance hiring. We'll also look at some of the resources that are available throughout the state to help you do this work or start that first step or begin the journey. After that, we'll introduce our panelists, and then we'll jump right into that panel discussion. As I mentioned, at 12 o'clock, we will allow you to turn on your cameras and your microphones. We'll start the Unplugged session, which is held by Della Ludwig, who's the Central Region's Workforce Strategy Consultant, and she'll continue that conversation from 12 to 12:30. So let's go ahead and get started. So, we always want to start with the altruistic case for doing anything. But of course, I'm a workforce strategy consultant. So let's go ahead and start with the business case or the workforce case. As we all know, right now, it feels kind of like a crisis with regard to finding qualified talent or people to work at our organizations. We've known this for a while. We've known this was coming, and we know that COVID sped all of this up. But we know it's also going to continue. If you look at that graph in the upper left, and we'll put the resources where this can be found in our chat. Over till 2033, we should expect our workforce to continue to shrink, other than the central region and the metro region. So because of that, we're going to continue to need to look for those demographics that are available that maybe have not been accessed or connected with in a way that can bring them into the workforce. On top of this, we know that people are having less children, and people are going to continue to have less children as we move into the future, which is also going to cause disruptions in our workforce as we move forward. So what am I saying? I'm saying we know that we're looking for great people now, and we know that we're going to continue to have to look for great people, and that this could be a struggle for us as we move forward. So we need to look at those populations that are underrepresented. In addition, with the business case, this population is very available, right? 1 in 3 adults have a criminal record. More people have a criminal record than own dogs. More people have a criminal record than are married. And so this is a wide population that oftentimes gets stigmatized. 4.5 Americans are on probation or parole right now. That's a huge workforce demographic. And in addition, 600,000 people are released from incarceration yearly. And these are people that are looking for a second chance, looking for new opportunities, looking to make amends. We're going to throw all these resources into the chat. We're going to go through these quickly. So please feel free to check those out on your own and reach out if you have any questions or comments. So let's jump in the business case and let's talk about the social case for this. Not only does this have impact on families and people, but this has an impact on our entire culture and our entire society. It's a very expensive, right, to work through the second chance process, right? The burden of incarceration is $1 trillion annually compared to according to the United States Department of Commerce. And just keeping the corrections facilities open costs $91.1 billion annually. I bring that up because in the next slide, we're going to talk about recidivism rates a little bit and how workforce impacts that. But again, we can see that if we can help people get a second chance, give them opportunities to take that next step in their lives, cost goes down. The last thing I wanted to point out is with regard to families that overall, over the last decade or so, we've seen numbers of people being incarcerated going down, right? We've all heard that stat about how social disparities in the justice system really impact people of color a lot more than white identifying people. And we're seeing that less and less, right? We're seeing incarceration rates going down, except for women. Right? Women from 1980 to 2021, the number of incarcerated women increased by 525%. Right? So again, we still see biases in our system or something's going on here that we don't necessarily understand. And where this has a real strong social impact is that 58% of these people that are women that are incarcerated have children under the age of 18. So jumping to the ethical case for hiring and working with this demographic, coming out of incarceration is quite a challenge. And Jason will talk about that. Luis will talk about that. But typically people are unemployed for most of the time after the first 4 years of coming out of incarceration. I don't have the stat up here right now, but I read that for those first 4 years, the average annual rate of pay is $15,000 or $15,000 annually, which is obviously not enough to live on. If we can help these individuals get jobs, if we can give them a meaningful place to land, their recidivism rate goes down, right? Which in fact impacts the costs of these processes to our society and helps individuals out. On top of this, I want to talk about 3 different things very, very quickly because these things are not necessarily mentioned very often, but again, they are impacts on this demographic that impact negatively their quality of life. And that's credit scores, background checks, and theft of property and assets. Number one, coming out of prison, oftentimes people don't have a very good credit score, right? It's hard to pay bills in prison. You might get behind on things, your car payment, that sort of thing. Credit scores are important to buying cars, renting things, getting an apartment, right? So if you have a 0 credit score, you have to start building that up again. How do you get a credit card if you have a horrible credit score. And so, again, these are challenges that are faced by people coming out of incarceration that don't allow them to have the quality of life that maybe we would want them to have. In addition, they have to, there's many background checks that come with, again, renting an apartment or that sort of thing. And we know that a quality housing, how that impacts somebody's lifestyle and so on and so forth. And so that can have a real detrimental impact on their lives. And then last but not least is a piece that once I started researching this subject, it's amazing how much I read about this, that people that are in incarceration regularly experience the theft of property and assets that they have outside of prison. They could have savings accounts, they could have vehicles, they could have homes, and oftentimes these specific assets and resources are taken from them in one way or another, sometimes very deliberately and intentionally, and sometimes just through the system itself. So again, we went through this very quickly because everybody in this room should already understand what the benefits are to hiring second chance workers, and also understand what the business implications are. So check out those resources and do some research if you're interested in learning more. But I want to talk about some of the resources that are available if you're interested in doing this work, so we don't have to take time talking about this when we go into the actual panel discussion. Number one is the federal bonding program. As many of you know, when somebody comes out of incarceration, they're considered an at-risk employee for the first 6 months. That at-risk designation disallows them from getting insurance through typical business insurance means. Because of this, the US government set up something called the federal bonding program in 1966, which allows organizations to get insurance for individuals coming out of incarceration and who are at that at-risk status. They will be bonded by this program for the first 6 months of employment. After 6 months, these employees are no longer considered at risk, at which point an organization's regular insurance program should be able to pick them up. If you're interested in learning more, reach out to any of us, the Workforce Strategy Consultants, or you can reach out to Rachel Okerlund, who's DEET's representative for this program, and she can answer any questions for you too. Rachel's one of Luis's teammates, and so we'll continue to talk about her a little bit and Luis later on. Next, I want to talk to you about the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. This is an opportunity for you to take some money away from your tax liability every year by hiring individuals from particular demographics that might be underrepresented, coming out of poverty or that sort of thing. Again, this is a resource or an asset that's not necessarily recognized or known by a lot of organizations. So please reach out if you want to learn more, and we can explore this together. And last but not least, I want to do a brief overview of some of the programs that are you can find across our state. There are people, there are organizations that are there to help us take that first step, work through obstacles and barriers, and make this successful. New Leaf is an example of Career Force. It's a workshop online. We'll talk to Luis about that. That's one of Luis's inventions or creations that really works to develop skills and assets in job seekers that are coming out of incarceration. Rural Minnesota STEPS, Restoring Connections program is an example of a regional program. This is in the Northwest that works again to touch base with incarcerated people and help them onboard into the workforce. Proud and Employer are very similar programs. They both work with people that are in incarceration in the moment to get them the skills needed to be competitive in the workforce, but also help them after they leave incarceration to help them get onboarded into a job, do interviews and that sort of thing. Proud works specifically with federal institutions or federal prisons, and it's a multi-state organization. So there's lots of opportunities there for people coming into the state and out of the state, and so on and so forth. Employee works specifically with state facilities and state prisons and jails. And so again, if you're interested in learning more, being connected with either of these organizations, let me know. These organizations love to work with people, businesses, and employers to make these direct and intentional connections to bring people on board. And then last but not least, I wanted to talk about Twin Cities Rise, which really focuses on individuals who are impacted by racial or socioeconomic barriers to employment. They're specifically in the Twin Cities, but they're one of those names you've probably heard before. And when we were making this list out and talking about resources and organizations that are just great in our state for doing this work, Twin Cities Rise comes up again and again and again. So again, please feel free to reach out to anybody on this list. Or if you'd like us to make a connection, reach out to your workforce strategy consultant, and we will do that for you. All right. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and move into our panel discussion. Dara and Ryan, I apologize for the technical issues. Everybody in the room, if you maybe noticed, we had some issues with the links, and I'm really sorry about that. But hopefully everybody got to where they wanted to go and needed to go, and everybody's comfortable with a nice beverage and ready for a good conversation. So here are our panelists. Luis, I didn't get a picture of you, so we'll just let you show your face here on the screen. So let's go ahead and meet our panelists. First, I'm Jason. I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Jason Pangiarella. Did I say that right?
Close enough. We're good.
Oh. So Jason is currently Deed's Northwest Minnesota Jobs Service Supervisor. He manages workforce services for Kittson, Roseau, Marshall, Red Lake, Pennington, Polk, and Norman counties, and oversees the operations of East Grand Forks, Crookston, Roseau, and Thief River Falls career force locations. Prior to this, Jason served as a workforce development specialist and served in leadership roles in both Southern Methodist University and Northland Community and Technical College. He is a coach and mentor and thrives on talent development and problem solving. Jason, I'm so happy to have you here.
Great to be here.
Jason's a great friend, a great partner, and I'm just very, very happy to be able to have this conversation with him. Next, we have Dara Strickland. Dara from Repowered, and this is a really amazing organization. Dara started working with justice impacted people while pursuing her Bachelor's of Arts at the University of Alabama and continued through attaining her JD at Washington University in St. Louis. She now uses her experience with compliance and litigation to guide human capital departments to develop practical policies that protect business interests and workers alike. She has been the HR manager at Repowered, a St. Paul social enterprise, for almost 2 years. And Dara's got a really interesting story. She started out as a lawyer and now has moved into recruiting and business. And so you've got that lens and that point of view that I think is very, very interesting, especially when it comes to this conversation. So Dara, I'm so happy to have you here too.
I am thrilled to be here for Workforce Wednesday and to tell all of you about the wonderful business case for hiring these amazing skilled workers.
It's going to be fun. Ryan Strong is our next guest here on our panel. Ryan is, Ryan spent many, many years, may I paraphrase from your LinkedIn profile, finding keepers, finding those most qualified fits for roles. He's currently the Talent Acquisition and Workforce Development Specialist for New Flyer of America, and is a volunteer for Shout Out Loud, which works on advocacy and suicide prevention and insights. So thank you for your work you do, Ryan. Thanks for the work that you do with New Flyer. You're a great partner. It's always fun to talk with you, and I'm really happy to have you. Last, we have Luis Brown Pena, who's kind of a legend in the workforce world, and we're really happy to have you here, Luis. Luis came to the United States in 1969 to attend and get his bachelor's degree in languages in 1974 at St. Mary's College in Winona, Minnesota. Since then, he has been working with the State of Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development in many aspects of workforce development. Luis developed and managed and coordinated the Placement Incentive Experiment in 1999, or the present Minnesota DOT/DEED Highway Heavy Construction Training and Placement Program. And Luis, we're going to talk about all of that. I'm really excited to learn more. He also created the New Leaf Workshop, which we talked about a little bit earlier, specifically for justice-involved individuals starting in 2008. Luis has over 35 years of experience working and developing programs for justice-involved individuals that are willing and want to change. He retired from DEED in February of 2020 and is now working part-time as a workforce development specialist under the pro-retirement agreement until January 2025. What a blessing, Luis. It's great to have you here. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm really excited to have this conversation, and let's just go ahead and jump in. Dara, can I start the question with you?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. I think we talked about this a little bit. We thought this would be a great jumping off point. What is the first thing an employer should do if they want to recruit and retain a justice-involved workforce?
So the first thing that I'd tell you to do is follow the best advice I ever got about something that wasn't HR related at all, but construction related. You've got to measure twice and cut once. The best thing that you can do if you are interested in hiring and keeping and getting the benefit of the work of somebody who's justice impacted is to make sure that you understand how that looks at every stage of recruitment, of hiring, of onboarding, and of employment. I really encourage everybody to kind of focus on, up to that first 90 days, and really think about what your policies look like for someone who is justice impacted, and also get buy-in at every step. In HR, we frequently are kind of the change leaders around things, but then we also have to clean up the mess when that change ripples down into the rest of the people who have to live with it at your workplace. Absolutely, if you're considering adding justice impacted people to your general workforce, more than you already have, as James, you did a great job showing, there's no such thing as a non-justice impacted workforce. But if you're looking specifically to make an environment where you can recruit and retain people who have this specific background, then make sure that you've got buy-in from every level. Talk to your managers, make sure you have a plan for what to do for certain kinds of offenses. Are they a fit for you, or are they not a fit for you? Are they a hard no, or are they a consider? So please have a plan before you start pulling people in who have, as you discussed, a very vulnerable job seeking position into your recruitment process.
I'd like to throw that same question to Luis. Just because you have so much experience in this area, Luis, and you've been doing this great work, and you've been working with businesses for a long time to make this successful. So what would you recommend a business do to start this work recruiting second chancers? Oh, you're on mute, Luis.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. First thing is, as being a manager, not only with specific federal and state institution, as a private employer, one of the first thing I will tell them to do is to contact and develop relationship with state workforce agencies, criminal justice agencies, community-based organizations that work specifically with justice-involved individuals. Then also contact the educational institutions and partners or the Department of Labor that can see if they have any technical training or any type of training for justice-involved individuals, and contact all of them to see if they have anyone that can be used to at least collaborate and fill their shortages of positions that they may have. But again, collaboration is one. Try to develop relationship not only with the businesses, but also with the federal, state, city, and county developers or training institution. Next thing is, the employers will need someone like a middle person, a mediator, because when you hire justice-involved individual, you have to have, depending on their release, some of them may have to have a middle person like the PO, but besides having a PO or a probation officer to which they may have to report to, they may have to have a mediator, a job developer, a middle person where an employer can trust, they can call upon, ask questions if there is something that may have come up. And at the same time, Lastly, become familiar with the laws that govern the jobs, background jobs in Minnesota, like bandy backs. What does that mean? What kind of work can that person do without being able to be liable if that person commit another crime? And also become familiar, lastly, with the justice involved. They call it Minnesota statute laws that govern many different jobs in Minnesota.
It sounds like a lot, right? But again,
Yep.
What I'm hearing from you, Luis, and what I know from the conversations that we've had previously, especially with other panelists, is that this is really about creating those intentional connections, right, with these organizations and these partners that can help you through that. You mentioned
Yes.
3 things that organizations should do to start. There are partners in place right now that can help us take those steps and clarify this and make it easy.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
Ryan, I'd like to throw you the next question because this is relates exactly to what we're speaking about. I know you worked with the PROUD program, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that right now. Specifically because, again, we're talking about developing these intentional connections with statewide resources. Can you tell us about the PROUD program and your relationship with them?
Yeah, thank you, James, for the intro. We're very pleased to join this discussion today. PROUD is one of the great CBOs we work with. Rachel specifically has this positive energy and drive that's very contagious. And perhaps, for those who don't know, the PROUD initiative provides employment services to federally incarcerated individuals nearing community reentry, and it aims to enhance employment outcomes while strengthening justice and workforce partnerships. We were introduced to the PROUD program through our workforce strategy consultants, Della Ludwig and James Whirlwind Soldier. Appreciate that. So now, with that being said, what does that relationship look like? Through a variety of different connections, whether it's a job fair, a second chance career fair, socializing, Rachel having the opportunity, really a two-way opportunity to share and socialize resumes of participants in the program with us, with an open door, open field type of a relationship. So here at New Flyer, our approach is really easy. Just let us know who you're working with, and we'll make it work. We'll accommodate as it relates to candidate review, perhaps doing a mock interview, perhaps doing a tour, perhaps having individuals in for some on-the-job training, et cetera, et cetera. There's no two fingerprints that are exactly the same. So with open arms, we tend to really have a two-way partnership with the PROUD program and many other CBOs that we're connected with to really drive success of the partnership.
And we're going to talk more about that.
Helps.
Oh, it's absolutely. And in fact, I think it leads into some of the questions that Della wanted to ask you about. Again, these intentional connections with wraparound services and partnerships.
Yeah.
One of the biggest partners that I get to work with, like I mentioned at the introduction, was Jason and his Career Force team. Jason does a lot of work with second chancers, or at least you did before your promotion, Jason. So we can talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to know if you would mind taking a moment and just talking about what some of those programs that you offer through Career Force. I know you offer job fairs and do some work like that. So I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. And I still do some of that work now. The work we do with people who are justice involved is both while they are in custody, as well as while they are exiting custody and upon release. So we often will, as we are allowed, communicate and meet with individuals who are in custody and do some pretty intensive career counseling with them. And when we talk to them about what their needs are, we usually will do a very realistic analysis of where their skills are and what their goals are and what is available using labor market data that Deed maintains as well. And we'll do a deep dive with them as soon as we can. And we're often invited to meet with people whose release or exit date is approaching. And so, but not always. Sometimes we are invited into facilities, correctional facilities, for job fairs or resource fairs as well, just to give everyone a sense of the type of people you meet. When we do those, it is often the labor or talent acquisition equivalent of walking into your grandparents' attic and finding a Picasso. It is really remarkable. I remember meeting a gentleman who was looking for employment, and I talked a little bit about his skills, and he just happened to mention, oh, I also hold a Class A CDL. Oh, by the way, I also have a hazmat endorsement with that Class A CDL. So anyone in this room who has any experience with transportation, trades, or anything of that is to just come upon someone with that is remarkable. And so that's the kind of workforce that is basically just lying in wait, hoping to get tapped. And we do a lot of very intensive career counseling one-on-one for those individuals locally in our areas. And different career forces that are closer to federal facilities do a little bit of a different thing. There are 4 federal facilities in Minnesota. The PROUD program covers those pretty well, and then any local correctional facilities as well. We also connect with corrections agents in our area to discuss what are necessary for those individual customers and what we need to know to help them.
A pretty formal relationship, isn't it?
Yep,
I mean,
it's
it's like an intentional, like.
Yep, it is. So we know our colleagues who work for the Minnesota Department of Corrections and career force staff are in regular communication when it comes to how we can help individuals and what we can do, what we can't do, what we can assist with, and where we can direct individuals into not just livelihoods but self-sustaining long-term employment.
Yeah. Well, so I know there's employers in the room that are interested in taking these first steps. How do you work with businesses? And can I invite businesses to reach out to you? And would you be willing to put them into contact with their career force partners in whatever region they're from?
Certainly. We can put my email in the chat, and I'm certainly happy to be at least a relay point for people to look at their local career forces or the person, because I know those employers, you want to know who is the person, right, that I can call, not just like, here's this generic email. And I'm happy to make those handoffs, because if there's one thing that you're very busy. So we can connect you to the local workforce development representative who can assist you with communicating your needs and what you're able to offer justice involved customers that come to us, and then make that warm handoff to you.
And you are making direct and, again, intentional, I'm using that word a whole lot here, relationships with businesses too.
Correct.
And that is this connection, the creating of that pipeline, so to speak, that really, it's where the magic happens, the relationship side of things. Yep. So relationships, we're talking about that again. Dara, during one of our conversations, you mentioned that the most important partner you have in this work, this great work you're doing, is your parole officer. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about what that relationship looks like and how it works?
Absolutely. So we are in a slightly different position for hiring than I think just about everybody joining this call is, which is that we receive far more qualified applicants every month than we could possibly hire without doing anything really other than word of mouth recruitment. But of course, when you have that kind of pipeline of people coming in, to find the people who are the best fit, because we hire, I would say, fewer than 10% of our qualified, ready to work applicants. But what everybody wants is the quality applicant, right? The one who's going to be a great worker. So word of mouth is incredibly important. And as you said, James, one of our biggest allies for that are parole officers, right? Are people who have the same goals. And that's really kind of how we develop that relationship, is that everybody has the same goal, from the employee, for us, and for the parole officer, is that someone doesn't reoffend, they don't catch a status violation, they follow the rules, and they work in a job that's going to maintain them. And coming from that attitude, right, maintaining that attitude with our POs is really one of mutual respect, of understanding that we each have different jobs to do, but they've all got the same goals. What we do is also make it easy for our POs. We make it so that they can meet with people. For those of you who haven't employed people who had incarceration histories, or you didn't know, POs have to check in with people. They like to do it without a lot of notice sometimes. And the easier you can make that for both the PO and the worker. We have an atmosphere that makes it so that POs can meet at our facility with workers. That means workers don't have to take time off work to leave, to travel. It means that they have privacy. They meet in one of our conference rooms, and it's just a normalized part of our work. They don't have to be afraid that if they tell their manager that they need to take some time off to go meet with somebody, nope, they just say, hey, my PO is here. I've got to go step off the floor for 20 minutes and go check in. So we lose 20 minutes worth of work, not 3 hours a day. And it creates amazing trust between the worker and us, because they know that we know the score and we support them. And it shows the PO, if they're coming in for the first time, we do tours. We show them the work that we do. We help them understand what the work looks like, so that the next time they have someone who is reentering the community and looking for work, they know what we do. They know how we support our workers, and they send us their best people. I've never had a PO call us and say, I've got 10 people. I'm going to send them all. Instead, I have somebody I'm working with who I think may be a great fit for you. And generally that's a wonderful word of mouth recommendation. But being able to sort of start that relationship and then maintain it by being respectful, by both understanding your roles, and by being transparent with each other, leads to just way less stress for everybody involved.
And probably a point of pride for both of you, because you're seeing individuals thrive and step up and everything else. So is it just as easy as an employer reaching out and calling the parole officer and starting a relationship?
Probably not. If you call a PO and you don't already have a plan, you just say, hi, I am interested in employing incarcerated people. Who do you have? One of the things that POs have to be on the lookout for is not getting people into situations that are going to make their release worse. Into exploitative situations, into situations where work demands are going to interfere with other release demands that the people have, like coordinated therapy, or being in housing at a certain time, being able to have a constant work schedule in order for a PO to know where they are, to be able to fulfill their obligations. So what I'd recommend is exactly what Luis has been talking about, which is collaboration. You don't have to start this from scratch. Lots of people are doing the work, including DEED, right, being the big one. So talk to your workforce consultant. Talk to an organization like mine that already works in the reentry sphere. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got so many wheels. You can borrow them. That's fine. I can't wait to get more people on our wheels. But a warm introduction, having a PO who understands why. Why are you looking for justice impacted workers? What are you going to do for them? What does it look like? Right? Have a plan before you ask somebody to take a risk.
I love that. And you're hearing this from different demographics too, whether you want to be that employer of choice for people coming out of incarceration, you want to be an employer of choice for immigrants and refugees, or what have you. It's these employers in this day and age, with the workforce climate the way it is, that are meeting their workforce where the workforce is at, and trying to understand the barriers and obstacles that they're going to face to having meaningful and sustainable careers, are the ones that are successful. And I think that's what we see in you. We see that in how you adjust policy. You talked about that in multiple ways just now. I think that's very, very amazing. And again, I think I really appreciate the corrections officer comment. I have one more question for you. You probably don't even know the answer, but I bet you somebody in our panel does. Dara, do you know how an employer could connect with their local corrections parole officer? Is there like
Oh, gosh. That's a really good idea. That may honestly be a better question for some of our other panelists. I sort of came into this with some of our infrastructure already built, but
nice.
but honestly, ours is just word of mouth. Somebody had a good experience with us, and then the next time they have somebody, they continue with them. So honestly, I'd say that the best way to connect with a parole officer is to let your employees know that you're interested in talking to their parole officer, which will sound a little strange, but if you've already established some transparency and trust with your worker, and highlight that it's to make things easier for them and for people who are in the same situation, I'd say that's probably the best way to start is start with an established relationship that you may already have with one of your employees.
Well, I knew Jason was going to throw something into the chat or have an answer for that. Because Jason, you've talked to me a lot about relationships. I know you've done actual work inside institutions. You've done career fairs for people in incarceration, which I think is pretty dang cool. Can you talk to us? But you've also said that relationship with the corrections personnel is a powerful connector. So can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yep. So, and Dara really nailed this part, is the corrections officer is seeing it through a lens of, these are the criteria I have to hold person X to. It's not optional. It's an order of the court. It has to be done. One of those is that they are seeking employment or have obtained employment. And seeking employment is an active thing. It's not sitting at home clicking boxes. They're actually working with us and can tell us more about what that looks like. So when corrections agents are using that lens, you have to understand that's where they're coming from. And like Dara said, part of it is the corrections agent needs to know where they are. Just to give you a sense of how important that contact is. Corrections agents will often write into the probation plans for individuals that they must have their voicemails activated and their inboxes cannot be full. That's a requirement of their probation. If they don't, they can be held accountable for that, even something so simple as that. And that sounds very small to us, but from their perspective, they need to be able to know that when they call, they can get into contact with them or leave a message and say, I need you to call me back right away. That's the lens they're using. And when you know that lens, then you can start to conform what you would do with a justice-involved individual. So for instance, if they need a set schedule, they can't have a flex or floating schedule because they need to be able to say, every Monday I'm here, every Tuesday I'm here, every Wednesday I'm here. That can help you understand what their needs are. And that's what we do as well, is if we know that an employer like New Flyer has a second shift, we can say, you have a second shift at New Flyer, this is the best one for you. And you know when that shift will start and when it will end, and when you will have your little breaks and all of those types of things. And that's something that a corrections agent can really kind of sink their teeth into and say, okay, all right, we know where they're going to be. But there can also be, depending on the type of offense, other things. They may not, for instance, be able to be in a facility where there are minors. That's a reality. They may not be able to have an employer where they can do those types of things, where they would come into contact. So there are a lot of different pieces that are there. If we live in a border state, for instance, they may not be allowed to leave the state. I'm responsible for our staff in our East Grand Forks location. For those justice involved, we have to talk to the corrections agent and the customer and say, can they get permission to go across the border into Grand Forks, North Dakota for this job? Is that permissible? Or is that not permissible? And sometimes help them understand what the job is and why it's a good fit for that individual. And maybe they can get permission, but maybe they can't. And so those are just some things that we always have to be cognizant of. It's not, when we do career counseling at Career Force with justice involved individuals, we have a second list of things we always talk about with justice involved customers to make sure that we are making the corrections agent a part of this career counseling process.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And you've done job fairs inside facilities, correct?
Yes, well, I was a part of those, and interestingly enough, New Flyer was one of the 2 employers that were there at that facility. So. And it was really great. And one of the things to know about people who are in corrections, they are not whistling past the graveyard. They know exactly the situation there, and they know that they have work to do. Some of them look towards more educational attainment and are looking towards that because they know that will make them more competitive for the job market. Some of them look towards that because they know that their previous career may not be an option for them anymore, and they need to do a career pivot. Some are looking at where they can get because they may be held in corrections in a location where their families are not. And so they may be looking to say, yes, I would love to talk to you, but actually, if you're, for instance, if you're involved in the PROUD program and you're in corrections at a federal facility in Sandstone is in Pine County, and you're from Moorhead, which is on the other side of the state, you're not necessarily going to be looking towards remaining in Sandstone potentially if you can get back home.
Yeah.
And so working together to help them realize what are realistic goals for them is important, because again, the corrections agent is also looking at support networks as well, and looking at making sure they have a support system, whether that's family or friends, because they are more likely to be on the straight and narrow and less likely to reoffend if they have that.
Yes, I love that. Ryan, so Second Chance Job Fair, was that the same one you did with PROUD, or was the PROUD one different?
We've done quite a few lately, and an excellent venue to meet with parole officers or POs, or just individuals that are looking to advocate for partnerships with employers. I think that was the Sabathani Community Center in Minneapolis. Wow, I left that I left that event feeling empowered with an excellent list of candidates. Right down in the South Minneapolis area, I met a candidate who is potentially going to be relocating up to the Crookston area, and many candidates that I had an opportunity to, excellent candidates that I had an opportunity to talk specifically about St. Cloud and Opportunity Drive, as I'm promoting careers in advanced manufacturing, and people that are willing to commit to just a short commute up 94 here to our facility in Clearwater, St. Cloud area. So, I mean, I have the opportunity to be a change maker, a mentor, and a coach. And New Flyer is a place for new beginnings, right? We're offering entry-level positions with livable wages in a union facility that has tremendous benefits, right? So we have the recipe as an employer, a real bridge to success, right? So I work for a forward-thinking organization. We have buy-in from our leadership. We have gone through the education and awareness within our kind of our policies around being hired, policy and procedure review, and we have the community partners and partnerships in place to develop support for justice-involved individuals, and to tap into the resource and support networks and opportunities for collaboration, right? And most importantly, I got a little bit outside of that job fair, or the many that we've attended recently, but if there's, lead by example and showcase the success stories. That's huge.
Ryan,
Right?
Ryan, I just want to jump in for everyone.
Yeah.
So all the attendees know, New Flyer is also a real pioneer in working with the work release programs that exist. This is probably not the venue to discuss that, but those are really great programs, both for the people in corrections to begin to whittle down some of their sentence time, but it also allows them to obtain new skills while they are in there, so they are able to then translate those potentially either back to New Flyer or even somewhere else to be able to do that. So Ryan, I also just want to uplift all the work that you do on that score as well. It's hugely impactful.
And I think
Appreciate it.
Della
Thank you,
was,
Jason.
Della had a couple, I think she might have a couple questions about work release. We'll have to see what she has up her sleeves. But, I wanted to talk about culture. I wanted to talk about, you mentioned mentoring and counseling. There's just so many pieces of this conversation we'd like to have. But Luis, I want to throw it right back to you. I'm going to change the conversation a little bit. I'm just really proud, Luis, of all the work that you have done in this space and all the uh, systems that you've created, the programs that you've created. I was hoping you'd be able to talk to us a little bit about one or two of those before we run out of time. So I was hoping, for a moment, you could tell us about the relationship between the Department of Transportation and DEED with their Highway Heavy program. Oh, you're on mute again, Luis. Oh.
There we go again. See, old age. I'm just kidding. All right. In 1999, I created the Highway Heavy Construction Training Program because at that time we had shortages of, we call it the BICAP folks into the construction trade. So men that approach us and tell us, hey, can you do something to recruit folks from different culture, different diversity groups into the construction trade? I says, yes. So it was first created then, and we provided it all over the state of Minnesota. It is actually an employment preparation for people who are interested in the construction trade. Since then, we've been doing it because one of the things I found out is when you provide training, when you provide good folks to employers, one of our job responsibility is not to produce number, but quality. I believe in quality, which means you have to screen people out based on their ability and the assessment that you provide to them. So one of the things I did also is create, they call it that assessment test. We give everyone an assessment test to see if they have the basic reading skills, comprehension skills, and math skills, which is needed specifically in the construction trade. Because I found out that even though people may have graduated from high school, there was some deficiency one way or the other. Right now, it is a 6 weeks training, and we do it every spring. We just had over 20 folks graduated, actually on May 24th, from the Cement Mason Union Hall. These are union trade jobs, and also from the labor in Lino Lakes. We had another graduation. So we had a lot of people graduated. Once they finish the training, we provide them with follow-up, which means placement. We are in contact with all the different major construction companies, not only in the metro area, but all over the state. And the person that is handling this program now, obviously besides myself, is Sylvia Garcia, which I trained to do that specific type of work. So that people are aware of is, in order to join this program, they have to have a car. Because you could be one day here in, let's say, in St. Paul, and one day you could be, in St. Cloud. So you need a car in order to be able to join the program and get to work, and also have car insurance. You have to have, obviously, a valid Minnesota driver's license. They have to have a high school diploma or a GED. And they obviously have to pass that training aptitude test that I had mentioned before. Once they do that and they pass the test, they are admitted to the 6 weeks training, which is the Cement Mason, or the 2-week training at the labor, in order to work with dirt, underground cable system and also to work with the sewer system. So that's basically what's been going on since 1999. And again, I'm happy to say that from all of the training people we have had and graduates over the year, the placement have been 95% or more.
Wow.
So that's the reason why we still do it since then. And people say, well, why is it so successful? And I never give up because the feedback I get from employer is, I like your screening method. That's what produce good people. And that's the reason why I do the screening. I created the tests because we have to have the basics in order to be, like I say, a hell of a good construction person.
So Luis, I gotta mention this. So as at the top of our uh, event today, we talked about how when you work with a workforce strategy consultant, you work with a whole network of different people, including the web of workforce strategy consultants that we have across the state. Your department is very similar, right? You work with Mark Schultz, you work with Jeremiah Carter, and you work with Rachel Okerlund. So if people want to
Yes.
access a number of great people in this space, can they email you?
Oh, yes, they can email me. I actually basically work very closely with the PROUD program. I get questions and I answer questions. And it's something that the federal government needed. It's interesting, but they are very different than the state correctional facilities. So basically, yes, they can contact us and or me. I'll work part-time. So if I don't answer your question right away when you email me, give me at least one day.
Well, thank you for that. I am really sad that we're out of time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and segue over into the unplugged portion of our event. But before we do that, I would love to just go ahead and toss it over to Shayla Drake, the workforce strategy consultant for the Northeast region of Minnesota. Shayla, it's great to have you as always.
Thank you. So just so everybody knows, we will be taking off in July due to Independence Day. So join us August 7th for the Workforce Wednesday, where our topic will be on navigating the workforce system, which is going to be an employer's guide. So we'll be focusing on navigating the one-on-one employer services offered throughout the system, varying from basic support information, reviewing job descriptions, connecting to underutilized talent pools, strategy assistance, and more. So registration is open. We're going to pop that in the chat. You can also go to the careerforcemn.com to check out our past sessions and also sign up to receive our emails. And again, join us on August 7th for that. Registration is open. And we're going to pop on over. We want to thank you thank you to James and our panelists for leading the presentation today. It was very informational. We want to invite you all to do the survey. We use that. We love getting all of your inputs. We're going to transition to the unplugged. We'll be able to turn your camera and your mics on and ask questions for an open conversation. And thanks again to our panelists. So give us a minute. We're going to do that transition. And again, we would love for you to take that survey. So give us a second while we do our changeover here.
Thanks, Shayla. I'm excited for August.
It's going to come quick.
Della.
And thanks, everybody. We can go ahead and stop the recording if everybody wants to go ahead and turn on their cameras and unmute themselves. I'm Della Ludwig. I'm the Workforce Strategy Consultant for Central Minnesota, and I will go ahead and stop the recording. Let's go ahead and do that. Stop recording. There